want to thank you all for letting me talk. It could be my last time letting me talk, but I'm going to give you a little piece of my mind on the whole issue here. First, if you look at my card, I had a little bit on the fish and a little bit on the oil response. So I think they're connected somewhat together. On the fish end of it, catch and release and keeping. If I had to do, one, we would keep the fish. But on the catch and release end of it, if that's all we're allowed to do, to me, that's a plus. That's something to do. I also fish like Pontchartrain and other areas. But what happens, and Marty can probably verify. If we're talking about speckled trout and redfish, to go out and catch, most of the heavy metals, any fish, they're all up in the stomach section of the fish. We cut that out. So I know a fish that I catch on my line in Lake Pontchartrain. When I get him into the boat, I don't need the FDA. I really don't need the wildlife to determine that fish is edible. I know that fish is edible. I remember many years ago I took some biologists from Texas, and it may be valuable for you guys to contact Texas. They did extreme studies on these fish by putting some chemicals, by putting temperature gauge, and there's all types of results into that through Texas. So you may have opportunity there to find out way in advance. To me, if I had to take one, I would take the catch and keep or catch and fry. And the other one would be if I had to keep and a lot of people, I don't know if y'all know me, I'm Dudley Dudley, I make a fishing lure to Dudley Dudley. And there's a lot of people out there that'll tell you I sold my soul to the trout gods. So I can tell you I pretty much know what the fish are going to do. On the second end of it, and this is an important part to me because I didn't feel like, not because all got there, I didn't feel like Lake Pontchartrain had to be closed. I was actually fishing that day. I'd fished the week before. And I went through the Coast Guard classes, and one of the parts in the Coast Guard classes, and we have a lot of people from out of state in here fighting what we should be fighting. And what happens is, one of the parts in the class was when you do strenuous work for 10 minutes, you take a 40-minute break. Now, how in the hell, excuse my language, how in the hell can we sit there and fight a war? And we keep, even in the newspapers, we write there in the newspapers, we keep listed it as an oil spill. Well, a spill is when I knock a cup of water over from off of here and it hits the wall, and I take a towel and pick it up. A gusher is when my grandson walks in with a hose, and I got to call my wife, Kim, I need your help quick. We got to quit calling it a spill. We got to call it a gusher. A spill is something very, very simple that can be picked up and cleaned. A gusher isn't, and that's what's happening to us right now. I'm going to give you a little chain of events, and I'm trying to cut it as short as I can. 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were at a meeting, and there were some people there, and the Coast Guard came over to me, and somebody introduced me to the Coast Guard, and I flat out told the Coast Guard, I said, they asked me, Dudley, do you know these tides here? And this is the idea that we need to fight this battle. We can't count on the Coast Guard. You can't count on the federal government. It has to be taken over by the wildlife. We're the people that can do it. The people in this room, the people that go out every single day and make their living off that water, they can fight it. Because what happened was, I told the Coast Guard, I said, when it hits Mobile, you got 14 to 17 days and it's here. And that's always the way it is. It's going to run right down that funnel. It's coming to us. Nothing was done. Friday, I was told by some of the commercial guys, it was at half moon. I was out there fishing Friday. You know where the boats for the response boats were? They were drifting in front of the regulars in front of me. I saw them for 3 hours sitting in front of the regulars. When I knew the oil was over there, I was fishing in 3-foot seas. Their excuse was they could not go out because of the seas. If we fight a war like that, and this is a war, it's not, it is not something where you can go out and take care of it right away. It's not something that foreigners, and I'm going to call anybody a foreigner. A foreigner is anybody who doesn't make their living off that water. And believe it or not, you guys make your living off that water. You depend on the coastal for your funding, for everything that goes through. So we have to fight this. You have to fight it not with a fly swatter. We got to use a tank. We got to get the people here in Louisiana to fight this war. You get every excuse in the book from that oil should have never gotten into Lake Pontchartrain. I was there that morning fishing. I'm going to tell you how it was. I'm anchored up by the car bridge in the Regulars. As soon as I anchored up, I looked down in the water, and I thought it was duckweed coming from the regolith at first. It was floating by me about 12 foot wide and probably across the whole regolith, and it shoots through an angle right where I was at. And I looked up there, and at first my impression was it was duckweed. And I looked down that way, then I realized this was oil that had hit us. And I told my customers, I said, I had Jude Trahan, who's an attorney. I said, oh, Jude, they are going to close me off. Now, you don't understand, when I heard Friday that was at Half Moon, I'd already told Dr. Weiss, a very familiar fisherman, I had told him that we will be closed by Wednesday. I knew it was coming there, but these response people, they apparently got 12, 15 boats out there working. They did not know it was out there. Now, I knew it because of the people who were working those waters. They were pulling traps in all week long from out in that area because they saw it coming. So what happens is it comes through. The response boat that left from back towards where Torres' property is, they come flying through about 8 o'clock in the morning, went right on by. The sheen was so big, it was like 3 football fields big. They came right through it, went right on by. Went past the barges that were anchored up in there, ran out towards Lake Bourne, right past where the oil was. About 9 o'clock, a boat comes by, and I saw him. He gets about 100 yards past me, and I hear, boom, he shut it down. And somebody on that boat did see the oil, the tar balls coming through. And by that time, it was all broken up. They could have fought it earlier. You know, they don't start at 8, 9 o'clock to begin with. You know, it's like going over and fighting in Afghanistan and say, well, we're not going to go out to 8 o'clock in the morning. We fight at night over there. So, you know, what happened was he shuts down. I see him dipping a few tar balls out that way. He comes and all of a sudden I see him turn around and come my way, talk to a boat further down than me. I don't really know what he said to that boat, but I'm assuming he said the same thing when he got to me. Went to the second boat over. When he got to the second boat over, I did hear him say, do you have any fish? Apparently there was a research person on that particular boat. The guy told him no. Well, I had about 20 trout, and I had 15 drums already in the boat. And believe it or not, the trout was as long as your arm, probably averaged almost 5 pounds of fish. So it's incredible fish. And he asked if I had any fish, and I told him, yeah. He said, could we have one? And I said, what do you want, a drum or trout? He said, well, could you get us both? So I handed him the fish. After I handed the fish, he said, you know, you need to throw these fish overboard. And I sort of looked at him a little bit, you know, cross-eyed a little bit, and said, nah, I think I'm going to fry them. Well, my exact words were, you know, we fry them in oil. Because at the time, I was pretty, you know, hot about the whole situation, about the oil even getting there. And then about 30 minutes later, all the boats that ran by him, who were supposed to be these people that are these experts that went to these training classes and all come by, they come by that way, and they start dipping the stuff in the water. Now, then we hear on TV, which is probably what you hear, and you know, some of our local politicians are screaming, we took 1,000 pounds of tar balls out of the lake. Well, it was 875 pounds of grass, and the rest of it was the tar balls that we hit in. And that's when I knew we were definitely being closed. I was coming home cleaning fish, and my son come by and said they closed at Highway 11 bridge. But to make a long story short, and if you guys are politically correct, just close your ears for a minute. If the state don't get the balls to go out and take the reins, we are in trouble. We don't have a heritage going to come up on. And if we don't do it, we're in trouble. You can sit here and debate about this and this and that, but if we don't take it by the reins and grab it and take control over our own destiny, that's what you do in life. You take over your own destiny. You don't worry about people from out of town coming in here. I appreciate it, guys. I hate to get on my soapbox.
We appreciate you being here. We have a lot of.
I understand that, but I appreciate the opportunity, guys.
Thank you, Captain.